Number 1 ranked Texas women's basketball moves on in the NCAA tournament to the Sweet 16 after defeating Alabama on Sunday. Baseball season is in full swing and MLB opening day is upon us. All of this and more coming up on College Press Box here tonight.
Good evening from us here to you at Texas Student Television. My name is Kohler and she's Kendell, Unger. We're hosting this week's episode of College Press Box. We've got a great show for you this evening. Let's dive right in. The 8th-seeded Alabama Crimson Tide came to Austin yesterday to take on the 1-seeded Texas Longhorns with a Sweet 16 berth on the line. I take you to the mid-second quarter. Madison Booker, she's wearing number 35 for a reason. She can pull up from anywhere, and her idol, Kevin Durant, is sitting behind the Texas bench for the entire game. Now for another Madison Booker highlight here. Up 5 late in the second quarter, Madison Booker hop step to the rim, goes up, drip drop, the shot trickles in. Now Madison Booker here, she'll kick it out to Aaliyah Moore. She makes her 4th three-pointer of the entire season late in the third quarter. Now early fourth quarter, here we are. Alabama makes a run looking to come within 6, but Aaliyah Moore denies her at the rim, and Texas would pretty much coast to victory after this one. Just look how much fun they're having here late in the fourth. Madison Book, whoop, see you later, catch me at the rim if you can. She goes up, she makes the shot. Madison Booker played a great game, and Aaliyah Moore and Vic Schaefer were very optimistic about Texas basketball's tournament chances moving forward to the Sweet 16. Now I'm joined by our women's basketball analyst, Jamie Tanguma. Jamie, thanks for joining us as always. Good to have you.
Thank you, Ike. I'm happy to be here.
Now, Texas women's basketball, they hosted the first 2 rounds of the tournament at the Moody Center in Region 4 of the tournament. How crucial was it for Texas to get that number 1 seed to be able to advance into the tournament?
Well, getting the number 1 seed, it comes with its benefits, but it's no guarantee to a successful tournament run. The last time Texas got the number 1 seed, which was in 2004, they were eliminated in the 3rd round. However, with the number 1 seed, Texas was able to host in their home court and start the tournament playing a number 16 seed Drexel. This first game, it allows for mistakes to happen without much consequence as they start their tournament against a low-caliber school. For Friday's game against Drexel, it allowed some of the players that don't typically score to get their shots in. Shaylee Gonzalez, who only averages 9.6 points for the season, shot 8 for 11 and had 21 points against Drexel. She shot 83% from beyond the 3-point line. A high-performance game like this is going to give her the confidence to take those high-pressure shots later in the tournament when the team needs it. For the second round game against Alabama, which came very close at times, it was certainly an advantage to play a game like that in front of a home crowd. The Moody Center was electric on Sunday with a packed crowd, and with that and high performances by freshman Madison Booker and junior Aaliyah Moore, they sent Alabama riding the Crimson Tide all the way home.
Yeah, it was a great crowd, and Schaefer has this fan base energized, I would say.
He does.
Speaking of a key player, Madison Booker, she was just named Big 12 Player of the Year, Big 12 Freshman of the Year, made the Big 12 first team among other honors. Can you tell me a little bit about her role on the team?
Well, let me just add one onto that list of achievements and say that in her first NCAA tournament appearance, she broke the Texas record for assists in a tournament game. I mean, it's amazing to see someone so young take on a leadership role in high-pressure situations like these. She averages 16.8 points in the season, but in the first round game against Drexel, only shot for 8. She recognized that her shots weren't falling and instead focused on giving the ball to the hot players like Shaylee Gonzalez. She ended the night with 14 assists. I mean, for her to have that awareness as a playmaker, as a freshman, it's only going to help this team later down the line. Then on Sunday, she came out and shot for 21 points with Kevin Durant on the bench right behind her, after he just said earlier this week that he hopes her jersey will be retired next to his. I can't imagine the pressure this young player is facing only at 18 years old. And for her teammates to trust her to lead the huddle, it's a great thing to see.
Yeah, and especially the way that she was thrusted into a leadership role after Rory Harmon went down. She's really played amazing.
Yes, she has.
Now that Texas moved on to Portland to the Sweet 16, are there any possible matchups? What are you looking forward to most as the tournament continues?
Well, if Texas can make it past the 3rd round, I'm really eager to see a possible matchup between them and Stanford in the Elite 8. Stanford took the number 2 seed in the Regional 4 division after Texas was awarded the number 1. These two teams both have excellent women's sports programs, and they have a history of competing for the top spot. Stanford themselves is coming off a big win against Iowa State on Sunday. Freshman forward Kiki Irafin had 41 points and 16 rebounds. I'm really curious to see how they would defend her if they met them in the tournament. But first, they'll have to face the winner of Utah and Gonzaga. That game's going to be played tonight, and the winner will travel to Portland and meet Texas next Friday.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good Sweet 16 matchup, and that Stanford-Iowa State game was a nail-biter, so we'll see about the Elite Eight. But thank you, Jamie, for that analysis. When we return to the College Press Box, Texas baseball got back on track over the weekend with a series win over Baylor. Grabiel Silva will join us for his analysis after the break.
Welcome back into College Press Box. Texas baseball stands with a record of 15-9 after a difficult start to March with 4 straight losses. However, the team seems to be getting back on track. I'd like to welcome our baseball analyst, Grabiel Silva. Thanks for joining us, Grabiel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, especially after a great weekend of some baseball.
Exactly. That's great to hear. Now let's get into it. How has the team been this month?
Well, after starting 7-1 in the month of February, Texas went through possibly their toughest stretch in the beginning of March, when they lost 4 straight games, starting with LSU, Texas State, and Vanderbilt in the Astros Foundation College Classic in Houston, and then a loss in a midweek matchup against Texas A&M. Now, arguably, all of those teams are really good, and it left some wondering, what is this Texas team's identity? Well, after that tough 5-game stretch, the Longhorns traveled up to Lubbock to take on the Red Raiders to begin conference play. After struggling to find their footing, Texas exploded with 22 runs in the opening game of the series, thanks to 4 home runs on the day and a great 4 2/3 innings of relief by Ace Whitehead. Texas would lose the next game 7-2, but in the rubber match, the Longhorns would fight back from a 6-3 deficit to win 9-7 and won their first series in conference play. The Longhorns fell out of the top 25 after going 500 during spring break, with a win against Incarnate Word and only winning 1 game in their 3-game series against Washington. The Longhorns would take on Air Force in a midweek 2-game series. The first game had some thinking, here we go again, when Texas was down 5-3 in the 9th inning against a team that they were supposed to beat. After a 1-out Peyton Powell single, Jalen Flores stepped up to the plate as a tying run. After a hard-fought 9-pitch at-bat, Flores smacked a no-doubter over the left field fence to tie the game and send the dish into a frenzy. In extras, D. Kennedy would deliver with a bases-loaded single to give the Longhorns a 6-5 win. The next day, the Longhorns had an offensive explosion highlighted by 3 home runs, and the 12-3 victory gave Texas the sweep over Air Force. After that series, the Longhorns shifted their focus to the Baylor Bears. Friday's game was a pitcher's duel that saw LeBaron Johnson Jr. go 7 innings. The Longhorns were down 3-2 in the 8th, but were able to tie it up and send it to extra innings. In the 11th inning, Baylor was able to scratch across a run, and Texas was unable to respond, and Baylor took the first game of the series. The next 2 games were a completely different story. Texas dominated the Bears, winning 10-2 and 11-1 in a run rule victory. Jared Thomas hit 2 home runs Saturday, and Ace Whitehead threw a complete game, only giving up 2 runs, 6 hits, and 5 strikeouts. Sunday's game was highlighted by a 3 home run performance by Max Ballou, and Max Grubbs went 7 innings with 5 strikeouts and only allowed 5 hits. So after a rough beginning of the month, the Longhorns have seemingly found their stride as of late.
Yeah, especially after that Baylor game. Hopefully they keep that rhythm up and keep it going throughout the season. So has anybody stepped up for the Longhorns in particular now that the season has started making its way?
Well, it took a while for Coach David Pierce to piece together a lineup that can compete every single day in this conference. Of course, we have the star players that were expected to be great, like Jared Thomas, Peyton Powell, and Jalen Flores, who have all started this season on a tear. But this is about who has stepped up in the surrounding cast for those 3 players. Some notable names has been the emergence of Max Ballou and Will Gasparino. Ballou, the sophomore from Melito, has stepped into a much bigger role after only appearing in 15 games last season. He currently has a .319 batting average and leads the conference in home runs with 10 after his 3 home run performance on Sunday. The talented freshman Gasparino has been on a tear recently as well. He has been a great presence in the outfield and is currently hitting just north of 300 and has 4 home runs on the year. On the pitching side, there was a big question mark heading into the season. Who is going to step up and complement LeBaron Johnson Jr. in the weekend rotation? At the beginning of the year, it looked like it was going to be Tanner Witt and Charlie Hurley. Well, Witt is still looking to bounce back from Tommy John surgery, and Hurley struggled at times as the starter. This left Coach Pierce with another 2 gaping holes in the rotation. Well, the 2 who have stepped up have been Ace Whitehead and Max Grubbs. Whitehead, the sophomore from Lampasas, only had 2 appearances before he went 4 2/3 innings to close out the 22-8 blowout of Texas Tech on March 8th. He followed that up by going 7 innings after Cody Howard couldn't get through the 3rd inning. Whitehead limited the damage to 5 runs that day and was a key component in making sure the bullpen was fresh for the rest of the weekend. Whitehead would make his first start of the season against Baylor on Saturday, and he absolutely dealt. He had a complete game and only allowed 2 runs on 6 hits. Sophomore Max Grubbs has slowly started to find his rhythm on the mound as well. His last 2 starts, he has gone 6+ innings and has only given up a run in each start. Both of these guys have emerged as solid weekend starters, and it gives Coach Pierce a chance to rely on his starters to go deep into games before having to go to his dependable bullpen guys. After a whole weekend of all 3 starters going 7+ innings, for the first time all year, the Longhorns are looking like they are clicking on all cylinders as they head into the teeth of conference play.
Okay, and finally, what's just your overall rest of the season outlook?
Texas' next opponent is against the Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islanders here in Austin. The Islanders are currently a couple of games under 500, and the Longhorns have historically dominated the Islanders with an all-time 25-5 record. After that, the Longhorns will head to Manhattan, Kansas to take on the Kansas State Wildcats, who are currently sitting at the top of the conference in what could be a key series if Texas can hold on to a series win. The week after, they will take on Abilene Christian and BYU before a rematch against Texas State in a home-and-home midweek series. The Longhorns' remaining conference opponents are Houston, TCU, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, UCF, and they finish up against Kansas. Now that it seems like every aspect of the team is clicking all at once, with the big names now having a clear-cut surrounding cast, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out for the Longhorns.
Yeah, definitely a lot of game left. Lots to go in the season, so that will be exciting to look out for. So thank you for your analysis, Grabiel. When we return, Joe Duffey will preview this week's MLB opening day. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back to College Press Box. It's the best time of the year as MLB opening day is this week, with many complex storylines across the league. Joe Duffey is here to help us preview the season. Take it away, Joe.
Yeah, thank you, Ike. Glad to be back on the show to preview the 2024 season. The MLB season would technically open last week as the Dodgers and Padres would travel to Seoul, South Korea at Gocheok Sky Dome for an international series in efforts to expand and further globalize the Major League game. Now, with the emotional homecoming return of San Diego's Ha-Sung Kim, the 2 division opponents would split the 2-game series. However, the traditional MLB opening day occurs this Thursday, and there's plenty of reasons to be hyped for the 2024 season with awesome, intriguing storylines. So let's start with what has been the biggest story of the MLB offseason, which has been the expected and hefty signings by the LA Dodgers. It was no secret that Shohei Ohtani preferred to head down the Santa Ana Freeway to join Los Angeles. Ohtani on December 11th would sign the largest professional contract in history, 10 years and a whopping $700 million. Now, one of the biggest catches from this historic signing was that Ohtani would choose to defer his $68 million annual salary until the years 2034 to 2043. So yes, that means that the two-way phenom is getting paid $2 million a season. Just $2 million in these next 10 years. The reasoning, of course, was to give the Dodgers more breathing room to improve their team with more payroll flexibility. The 2-time AL MVP isn't expected to pitch this season, though, still recovering from his UCL injury last summer, but will instead DH from the 2-hole this season, with rumors that he may possibly hit the outfield or first base in the future. I don't really know about that, but just possibly throwing it out there. They say it could be a possible rumor he may do that.
Right.
Then there's Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the hyped 25-year-old Japanese pitcher who is signed with Los Angeles with a, get this, 12-year, $325 million contract, an unprecedented contract for a player who had never thrown a pitch at the highest level of professional baseball. Some, like myself, were quite surprised by this contract, but this signing would come more astonishing, being that the Dodgers could even afford him, as Yamamoto was initially favored to reside in the Bronx. There had been whispers of Yamamoto's hype and his impressive command of the strike zone in the Nippon Professional Baseball League for the past 2 years, but unfortunately, his debut would not go the way he desired in Game 2 of the Seoul Series. He'd only last an inning, giving up 5 earned runs and throwing 43 pitches in a game where LA would lose 11-15. So the Dodgers, who are 1-1 in the season, still are the overwhelming favorites for the NL West, the National League pennant, and also the 2024 World Series, being that they also have the second and third place finishers for the 2023 NL MVP in Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. There's still more pressure on Dave Roberts and crew than ever after a humiliating collapse to the D-backs last postseason, and it's going to be championship or bust for the Dodgers. Moving on to the Bronx, the Yankees would not sign Yamamoto, but they would acquire San Diego Padres' Trent Grisham and Juan Soto via trade, sending young prospects, but also the veterans Michael King and Kyle Higashioka to San Diego. With the healthy Aaron Judge, blossoming Anthony Volpe, and the acquisition of Boston's Alex Verdugo, also via trade, Juan Soto will surely be the missing piece that New York has been looking for in their lineup. Yankees ace, however, Garrett Cole, fresh off his Cy Young campaign, unfortunately was diagnosed with nerve inflammation in his right elbow, so he'll miss the first 6 weeks of the season. The new-look Yanks aim to get back in the playoffs after a rare postseason miss. Now moving on to the Space City, the American League runner-up Houston Astros would sign the electric closer Josh Hader, who played last season with San Diego. Hader signing a 5-year, $95 million deal moves the longtime closer Ryan Presley to a setup role and surely improves an already stout Houston bullpen. Future Hall of Famer 41-year-old Justin Verlander will be sidelined for the first month and a half of the season with a shoulder injury. However, one of the most important narratives for the Astros is the retirement of Dusty Baker and the introduction of new manager Joe Espada. Baker would catch a lot of flack last season for playing the now-departed Martin Maldonado over the younger catcher and Yanier Diaz. But with Diaz now as the starting catcher this year, Espada is in position for a solid debut as at skipper. The Astros are currently favored to win the AL West, and believe it or not, the current World Series champions are favored to finish third behind the Seattle Mariners. Now, speaking of the World Series champions, Texas won its first World Series against the Arizona Diamondbacks, cementing a historic postseason, going 11-0 on the road, a record that may never be touched again, Ike. With Mitch Garver signed to Seattle, the Rangers look to be the first champion to repeat since the 99-2000 Yankees. First baseman Nathaniel Lowe's oblique strain injury in spring training will sideline the former Silver Slugger and recent Gold Glover for the first 6 weeks of the season. However, possibly the biggest revelation for the champs is the quick ascension of former Florida Gator Wyatt Langford. Langford, drafted 4th overall last May, would work his way quickly through the minors and would have a stellar spring training, slashing an incredible .375 batting average with the minor league leading, or spring training leading 6 homers and 20 RBIs and an 1161 OPS. The rookie's addition to the 2023 AL's best lineup will once again make the Texas Bats the strength of its squad. Langford will start opening day at DH for Texas, but will get some outfield reps in the future when called upon, and will eventually join the outfield in the future with another Rookie of the Year favorite in Evan Carter. Carter, who debuted late last season, is still classified as a rookie and looks to expand from both sides after an impressive 2023 debut. As far as a historically bad 2023 bullpen goes, the Rangers would sign veterans Kirby Yates and David Robertson to help in late inning situations. Texas would defy last season, becoming the first team to make the postseason with more blown saves, 33, than converted, 30. As far as starting rotation, the Rangers elected not to re-sign Jordan Montgomery, who still remains unsigned across the league. Just recently, Texas would sign Michael Lorenzen on a 1-year deal, as GM Chris Young has stated that he's confident in the same rotation he had last year. With Max Scherzer sidelined for 2 months and Jacob deGrom until late July, the Rangers' pitching staff will possibly take a hit in the beginning of the season, but has the chance to get hot at the right time. Bruce Bochy-led championship teams typically have a World Series hangover, but the Rangers have shown that they have no problem with their back against the wall. Let's wrap it all up, Ike, but also reiterate there's one key free agent remaining in Jordan Montgomery, who is still looking for a home after his impressive 2023 postseason with the World Series champion Rangers, that is. However, just recently, news broke that Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers would fire his interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara, after a gambling scandal where Ohtani would admit that he paid off Ippei's debts after he'd fallen into $4.5 million debt. Now, many fans have speculated on the accuracies of the alleged situation, but there is much more to follow in the future with this bombshell. All in all, Ike, I'm so excited that the MLB season is finally here and glad that the league is having a resurgence in America and growing worldwide. Absolutely, always a good thing to grow the game, and it's also to see this MLB season finally get started on Thursday.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. MLB growing the league, growing the game internationally. You know, a lot of turnover with free agency, a lot of new faces like Hader going to the Astros, and also, you know, we're not really sure what's going on with the Ohtani gambling scandal. Basically, is what it is with him and his interpreter. But there's going to be a lot of drama going forward to start the season. So
it's produced for some good jokes in the timeline. I'm going to say that, though.
Oh yeah,
some good jokes.
Well, Joe, thanks for joining us as always. When we return, we recap the last week in Texas sports. You will not want to miss it.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Now let's take a quick look back at this past week in Longhorn sports. Number 3 ranked Texas softball on Sunday swept UCF to clinch their 7th consecutive win after their loss to LSU.
In Athens, Georgia, the Texas women's swim and dive team finished second at the 2024 NCAA Swimming and Diving Championships for the 3rd straight year. Now, Texas swimmer Emma Stickland struck gold after winning the 200-yard butterfly national title for 2 years in a row.
Texas men's basketball loses to Tennessee 62-58 and are knocked out round 2 of the NCAA tournament. The Longhorns finished their season with a record of 21-13.
Taking a look ahead at this week in Longhorn sports, Texas women's basketball, Texas takes on the winner of Gonzaga and Utah in the Sweet 16 Friday night on ESPN. Now, Texas baseball this Tuesday, they take on Texas A&M Corpus Christi at 6:30 p.m. You can watch that at the Longhorn Network, or better yet, go see it for yourself. Texas baseball this weekend, they travel to Manhattan at Kansas State for a series from Friday to Sunday. This weekend, the Texas softball team travels to take on top 6 ranked Oklahoma State in a crucial 3-game series. Friday night's game will be on ESPN.
Okay, that'll do it for this week's episode of College Press Box. If you like what you saw, be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on all socials. Also, be sure to check out College Crossfire on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. and the 1-0 Sports Show on Friday mornings at 10. Shout out to everyone who helped out with this week's show, including our executive producer, Jason Conander. On behalf of TSTV Sports, I'm Kendell Unger. He's Ike Kohler. Thank you for joining us and have a great night.